Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The steam from the shower still clung to the bathroom mirror when I stepped out, towel wrapped loosely around me, hair dripping warm droplets that slid down my shoulders. I was half focused on drying my hair, half trying to steady my own breathing, because I wasn't alone. He had come in quietly, almost too quietly, as if he knew exactly how to catch me off guard. I didn't hear a single footstep, only the shift in the air behind me. That subtle pull in my chest. That familiar warmth crawling up my spine whenever he was near. Then I felt it, a gentle but firm touch on my waist. My heart lurched. Not from fear, but from the way his fingers settled like he already knew every curve of me. I froze for just a second, towel slipping slightly, breath trapped in my throat. Slowly, I turned my head. Our eyes met through the humid mirror. His gaze wasn't soft. It wasn't polite. It was focused, hungry in a way he tried to hide but utterly failed to. The kind of look that made the room feel smaller, hotter, like even the steam had paused just to see what would happen next. "You scared me," I whispered. But my voice betrayed me, breathless, shaky, almost inviting. He smirked a little, the kind that sent a shiver down the back of my neck. "If I really scared you," he murmured, stepping closer, "you wouldn't still be standing right here." My towel loosened a little more. His chest brushed my shoulder, barely, accidentally, or maybe not accidental at all. My pulse hammered under my skin. I wondered if he could feel it, or if he heard the way my breath hitched when he leaned in just enough for his warmth to meet mine. "Tell me to leave," he said softly. But he didn't move away. And neither did I. The steam thickened. The air tightened. My fingers trembled around the towel as his hand lingered on my waist, waiting, testing, pulling me into a moment that balanced right on the edge of something neither of us could pretend to ignore anymore. Then, a sudden knock on the door. We both froze. And just like that, everything hung in the balance. The knock on the bathroom door echoed through the steam-heavy silence, but neither of us answered. It was strange how one small sound could break a moment, yet somehow strengthen it. His hand slowly slipped away from my waist, but the warmth of his touch lingered like a secret my skin refused to forget. We didn't speak at first. We never did, not when moments got too real, or too close. Maybe that was one of our cracks, we felt too much but said too little. I stepped aside and tightened the towel around me, pretending to look for something in the drawer. I wasn't. I just needed space to breathe, or maybe, I needed space to stop thinking about how badly I didn't want space at all. "Are you okay?" he finally asked. His voice was low, careful, like he was afraid of the answer. "I should be," I murmured. He leaned against the counter, his shirt slightly damp from the steam, arms crossed in that guarded way he did whenever he didn't know how to handle what he was feeling. There was something in his eyes, guilt, longing, and a quiet ache that had been building between us for months. "We can't keep doing this," I whispered. He didn't move, didn't blink. But his jaw tightened. "That's not what you felt a moment ago," he said, not accusingly, more like he was hurting himself with the truth. My chest tightened. Because he wasn't wrong. Our relationship had always been a quiet battlefield, filled with unsaid apologies and unspoken desires. We cared for each other deeply, maybe too deeply. But every time we got close, something pulled us back: fear, timing, pride, or maybe the reality that wanting someone doesn't always make love easy. He exhaled sharply. "You keep pulling away," he said. "I'm trying, but I don't know how close I'm allowed to be to you anymore." His honesty caught me off guard. We weren't used to saying things out loud. "I'm not pulling away," I replied softly. "I'm just scared. Because when I'm with you, everything feels too real." His expression softened just a little, just enough to make me feel the same familiar tug in my chest. He stepped closer, but slower this time. Gentle. Intentional. "We don't have to rush," he said. "Just talk to me. Let me in, even a little." There it was, the real tension. Not the heat from a moment ago, but the fragile truth between us. My fingers trembled as I placed the hairdryer on the counter. I turned to him fully, towel secure, eyes meeting his without hiding. "I want to," I said. "But I don't know what happens after." He reached out, brushing a wet strand of hair away from my face. "Then let's figure it out together," he whispered. Something inside me shifted. More than desire. More than fear. Something real. The door knock came again, louder this time. And for the second time, everything stopped. The second knock hit the door harder this time, snapping the fragile silence. I instinctively stepped back, tightening the towel, but his eyes followed the movement sharply, too sharply. A flicker of something heated his expression. Not anger. Jealousy. "Are you expecting someone?" he asked, the edge in his voice barely hidden. "No," I answered, but even to me, it sounded uncertain. He pushed off the counter, coming closer again. Not touching, just close enough that I felt the warmth of him, the tension rolling off his body. His breath brushed my cheek when he leaned down slightly. "Then why," he whispered, "does someone else think they can knock like that, at a moment like this?" His tone wasn't loud, but it hit harder than the knock. "Because he never showed jealousy. Not until now." "I don't know who it is," I said quietly. But he didn't look away. His hand hovered near my waist, almost touching, almost claiming, before he pulled it back with a frustrated breath. "You always do this," he said. "You let people get close to you. Everyone except me." His words sank into me deeper than I expected. "Because they weren't wrong." I swallowed. "That's not fair." "It is," he said, softer but more intense. "Because every time you look at me like you did a moment ago, I think maybe I matter to you. And then you step back like you regret it." His voice cracked at the end, barely, but enough. The knock came a third time, but neither of us even flinched now. The world outside that bathroom didn't exist. Only the thick, unspoken truth between us did. "I don't regret anything," I whispered. He went completely still. The jealousy in his eyes softened, melting into something far more dangerous, longing. Real longing. The kind that pulls two people into a collision they've been circling around for too long. "Then why are you scared of me?" he murmured. "I'm not scared of you," I said. "I'm scared of how much I want this." There, the forbidden truth finally out. His jaw clenched, but his eyes warmed, deepened, darkened. He stepped forward again, intentionally brushing past the edge of my towel with his hand, not pulling, not disrespectful, just a bold reminder of how close we were to crossing a line. "You think you're the only one fighting this," he said. "I can barely breathe around you." The room felt hotter. The air tightened. The towel felt suddenly too thin, his body too close, and the door knock far too irrelevant. We were at the edge now, of something dangerous, tempting, irresistible. And neither of us wanted to step back. The knocking finally stopped, but the silence it left behind was even louder. It pressed into the room, into our breaths, into the thin space between our bodies. I felt my heartbeat thudding beneath the towel, almost loud enough to echo against the bathroom tiles. He took one slow step forward. I took none back. "We can't stay in here," I whispered, though neither of us moved. "Then tell me to leave." His voice was barely a breath. I didn't. The air thickened as he reached past me to turn off the still humming bathroom fan. His arm brushed mine, light, accidental, but charged enough to make my skin prickle. When he stepped back, we were even closer, shadows overlapping under the warm glow of the bathroom light. He exhaled shakily. "You're driving me crazy." "I'm not doing anything," I whispered, though the tremble in my voice betrayed me. "That's exactly the problem." He leaned against the counter, trapping my reflection in the fogged mirror beside his. The closeness felt impossible to ignore. I could see the way his chest rose and fell, uneven and restless, mirroring my own. "We should talk somewhere else," he said, but he didn't sound convinced. "Like where?" He hesitated, a long, meaningful pause. "My room." The words dropped between us like a spark hitting dry wood. I swallowed hard. "Why, there?" He looked away for the first time, jaw tightening, vulnerability cracking through the mask he always wore. "Because I can't say what I need to say," he murmured, "not while you're standing here, looking like that." A blush burned across my skin, not from embarrassment, but from the way he said that, like every part of me was a temptation he was barely managing to resist. The hallway outside was dark when we stepped out. Quiet. Empty. The kind of quiet that made secrets feel safer and boundaries feel thinner. He walked ahead a little, then glanced back. "You're sure you want to do this?" he asked. "I wouldn't be here if I didn't." His room door clicked shut behind us, soft but final, like crossing an invisible line. He turned toward me slowly, eyes searching mine with a mix of desire, fear, and something deeper. The room was dim, lit only by the warm glow of a bedside lamp. It softened his features but sharpened the tension between us. He reached out. Hesitated. And then his fingers brushed my wrist, sending a shock of heat up my arm. "Tell me," he whispered, "that this isn't just in my head." I parted my lips to answer, but suddenly, footsteps stopped just outside the door. And the doorknob began to turn. The doorknob froze mid-turn. Both of us held our breath. The silence on the other side of the door crackled like electricity too close to water, dangerous, unpredictable, seconds away from disaster. Then a familiar voice called out quietly, "Are you in there?" My stomach dropped. His face drained of color. It was her. The last person who should be anywhere near this room. The one whose presence always wrapped our lives in careful boundaries and swallowed feelings we refused to face. He stepped back from me, heart racing so loudly I could almost hear it. "She wasn't supposed to be home," he whispered, panic threading through every word. Another soft knock. This one hurt more. "Please open the door. We need to talk." He didn't move. I didn't move. We just stared at each other, wide-eyed, breathless, caught between wanting each other and knowing we shouldn't. The doorknob jiggled again, harder this time. "I know you're in there," she said, voice suddenly cracking as if holding back tears. "And I know she's with you." My heart slammed into my ribs. A cold rush spread through my body. "How?" I whispered. He turned away, shoulders tense, guilt pouring off him like heat. "I told her I needed space," he muttered. "But I didn't tell her why." His voice dipped, heavy with a confession too painful to hide any longer. "I told her, there's someone I can't stop thinking about." My breath caught. The world narrowed to just him and the truth we'd both been avoiding. He looked at me, eyes raw, unguarded. "It was you. It's been you for months." Before I could respond, the door handle twisted violently, then stopped. A shaky breath sounded from the hallway, followed by footsteps walking away. Slow. Heavy. Defeated. He sank onto the edge of his bed, burying his face in his hands. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. I stood frozen by the door, towels still clutched around me, heart torn in two directions, desire pulling me forward, guilt yanking me back. You should go after her, I said quietly, though the words tasted like ash. He lifted his head slowly, eyes shining with a storm of emotion. No, he said. Not this time. I can't keep living in half-truths. He stood, walked toward me with slow but certain steps, stopping just inches away. The air shivered between us. You deserve to know everything, he whispered. The real reason she suspected us. The thing I never told you. I swallowed hard. What reason? He hesitated, then spoke the words that shattered everything. She found the messages. The ones I never sent. His voice trembled. The ones I wrote to you. The room fell into a heavy, breathless silence, and before I could respond, a shadow appeared beneath the door. Someone had come back. The shadow beneath the door didn't move. It stretched across the floor like a silent warning, freezing both of us where we stood. My breath caught as the doorknob twitched, not turning this time, just trembling, like the person on the other side couldn't decide whether to come in or walk away forever. Then her voice broke the silence. I just want the truth. It wasn't angry. It wasn't loud. It was heartbreak, raw, trembling, and sharper than any confrontation we had imagined. He closed his eyes, shoulders collapsing as if the weight of months finally crushed him. Then, with a resolve I didn't expect, he opened the door. She stood there with tears streaming silently down her face. One look at me behind him, towel wrapped tight, hair still damp, and the pain in her eyes deepened into something unbearable. So it's real, she whispered. He shook his head immediately. No. Not like you think. Nothing happened. She laughed, not because she found it funny, but because the truth hurt too much. Nothing happened? Do you really believe that makes this easier? Her voice cracked. You've been choosing her in your heart long before tonight. The guilt in his eyes said everything. And the guilt in mine probably did too. I never meant to hurt you, he said, voice trembling. But I can't lie anymore. Not to you, not to myself. Her breath hitched, and she covered her mouth, turning away as if she couldn't bear to look at either of us. That's the worst part, she whispered. You didn't even realize you were leaving until it was already done. The hallway light flickered softly above us, casting long, broken shadows along the walls. The three of us stood suspended in a moment that felt like the end of something permanent. She finally met my eyes. I don't blame you, she said, voice softer than I expected. People fall for who they fall for. But you owe it to yourself to know that loving someone who's confused will break you. Her words struck deeper than she knew. He stepped forward, trying to reach her, but she held up a hand. No. This time, you can't fix it. She took a shaky breath. I'm leaving tonight. I won't stay in a home where I'm only half loved. His face fell, devastation hitting him like a punch. Please don't go. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. You already chose. Maybe not with actions, but with everything else. Her gaze flicked to me again, but there was no hatred, only resignation. I hope you two figure out what this is, she whispered. But I need to figure out who I am without it. Then she turned slowly and walked down the hall. He stepped out after her, taking one desperate half-step, but stopped. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. She didn't turn around. The front door closed a moment later, echoing through the house like the end of a chapter none of us could undo. He stood frozen, breathing hard, chest rising and falling with guilt, grief, and something else he wasn't ready to face. Slowly, he looked back at me. This is all my fault, isn't it? I shook my head, feeling my own eyes burn. No. It's just the truth catching up with us. He stepped forward, voice barely a whisper. Then tell me, where do we go from here? The house fell silent after the front door closed. No footsteps. No voices. Just the hollow stillness of a night that had gone too far and revealed too much. I stood at the doorway, towels still clutched tight around me, heart heavy but strangely steady, as if everything that was supposed to break had already broken. All that remained was truth. He stood in the hallway, shoulders slumped, hand pressed to the wall like he needed something solid to hold on to. The guilt on his face was unmistakable, but so was something else. Relief. Not the kind born from escaping consequences, but the kind that comes when a person finally stops lying to themselves. When he looked up at me, his eyes were softer, tired, red, but clear in a way they'd never been before. "I'm sorry," he said. "Not just for tonight. For all the nights I made you feel like you couldn't say what you felt." I swallowed hard. "We hurt her." "We did," he admitted, stepping closer. "And I'll carry that. But pretending I didn't love you, pretending I didn't want something real with you, was hurting all of us." My breath caught, not from shock, but from the gentleness in his words. The honesty. The way he wasn't running anymore. He reached out, stopping just before his fingers touched my arm, waiting for permission without needing to ask for it. When I nodded, his hand brushed my skin, warm, grounding, careful. "You don't have to decide anything tonight," he said. "But I want you to know. I choose you. Not out of chaos. Not out of confusion. I choose you because when everything fell apart, the only thing that felt true was us." I felt something loosen inside me, the fear, the guilt, the uncertainty. All the things that kept me from letting myself want him fully. "What happens now?" I whispered. He gave a small, hopeful smile. "Whatever we build honestly. Slowly. Without hiding." He took the towel from my trembling hands and gently draped a soft robe over my shoulders, tying it loosely. A simple gesture, tender and respectful, grounding us both in a quiet intimacy that didn't need anything more to feel real. I stepped forward until my forehead rested lightly against his chest. He wrapped his arms around me, not desperate, not claiming, just holding. Steady. Warm. Safe. For the first time in months, my heartbeat felt calm. "We'll be okay," he murmured into my hair. "How do you know?" "Because we finally stopped pretending." The night outside was still, the hallway soft with warm light as he took my hand, not pulling, just guiding, and led me to sit beside him on the edge of the bed. No urgency. No tension. Just two people finally allowed to breathe. And as he pressed a gentle kiss to the top of my head, I knew the truth, this wasn't an ending. It was the beginning we'd both been afraid to ask for.